I was going to try and make an electric car noise, but I'm not sure how you'd make one, let alone write it into a script. Anyway, an episode on electric racing that contains footage of gas-guzzling V-configs. Roll titles. So I was just on the BBC Sport website, and I saw a video and headline that piqued my interest, given how I'm interested in motorsport as a whole, irrespective of what power is behind the driver's head or in front of the driver's feet in the case of touring cars and some GTs. It was a video about Extreme-E, and it was a video where Jenson Button said that the future of motorsport will always be electric. So for those of you who aren't aware, Extreme-E is basically Dakar rally style rally cars powered exclusively by electric motors. Each team has a male and female driver, and they basically do a relay race over 2 laps where the male driver does the first lap and the female does the second lap, although that could be female first and male second. The races are taking place in parts of the world with extreme climates or geographical features like the Saudi desert and Greenland. And 3 Formula 1 world champions have got teams in the series: Nico Rosberg, Lewis Hamilton and Jenson Button, but Jenson is the only one of these 3 team owners who also drives. He's partnered with Swedish driver Mikaela Kotolinski, while Rosberg's team is Australian rally champion Molly Taylor and Swede Johan Kristoffersson, and then Hamilton's drivers are Cristina Gutierrez from Spain, and a man who I think needs to be mentioned when it comes to the greatest driver ever debate: Sebastian Loeb. And while we're name dropping, Jamie Chadwick and Stefan Sarazan are also involved as part of Veloce. In addition to the 3 F1 world champions, Carlos Sainz is involved with the Acciona team, ABT or ABD have a team, Andretti has a team, and so does Chip Ganassi. And in the words of the 2009 Formula 1 world champion, these cars are like Tonka toys with 550 horsepower. It's Rallycross meets Dakar. That's the best way I can describe it to you. And I watched some of the first round in Saudi Arabia. It was pretty cool. Now I know that there are going to be critics of these sorts of things because, well, firstly, there's the latest word added to what I like to call buzzword bingo, and that's the word woke. And people will be something something woke something something and then follow it with something something Marxist something something. You know, one day I hope people will stop and go, actually, I don't know what that word means, so I'm not going to use it. Alas, we wait and hope. But anyway. The other, of course, is Manoys! They're not V12s, it's shit! End of! And yes, I was sceptical about Formula E. It is weird, especially when your formative years watching motorsport were in an era where engines had 10 cylinders that were allowed to rev to 20,000 revolutions a minute. It is a shock to the system. These cars are racing at over 100 miles an hour and making this high-pitched whine. But if you actually sit and watch Formula E, there is some great racing. They recently ran on the full Monaco circuit and they were side by side up Beau Rivage up to Massenet. When was the last time we saw Formula 1 cars do that? Even in the narrow track era, that wasn't happening. And speaking of FE and racing on the full Monaco circuit, real circuits! Why don't they race on real circuits? Well, I mean, that's a track. It exists. It's real. The Formula E tends to race on tight street circuits in the middle of congested cities. New York City, Rome, London, places like that. They don't race at Spa or the Nordschleife because A, that's not the market where electric cars are being aimed, and B, battery capacity. In the early years of Formula E, they had to switch cars mid-race because the batteries weren't lasting long enough. And the technology has since improved. They've got more power and they last longer. Most electric cars on the market these days have a range of about 250 miles, which is... I actually don't know what that is in kilometres. Is it 400? But anyway, while fueling at a traditional petrol station, that will take you a couple of minutes. Charging an electric car can take hours, although rapid chargers are available that can charge these cars up in about 30 minutes. And in some cases, charging these cars, albeit taking a while, costs just over £9 or $13 to charge to the top. £6.30 on a rapid charge, which for a Tesla Model S works out at about 4.7 pence per mile, about half the cost per mile of a normal modern petrol car. But when you factor in other costs, that probably works out to cost the same. For now, obviously, a brand new Nissan Leaf is about 30 grand. So, Nissan Leaf or a decent spec Golf. I'm probably going to take the Golf. And yes, people will point out the hypocrisy of charging it up using power generated by burning coal, oil and gas. See, I know how you people think. But green energy is becoming more and more of a thing. In Scotland, renewable energy has overtaken fossil fuels, and in Norway, 98% of the country's energy comes from renewable sources, mostly hydroelectric. China, the United States, Canada, Brazil and the UK are also seeing increases in green energy usage, and with advancements being made towards nuclear fusion in the last few years, we've got that to look forward to as well. Assuming progress and stuff. But all that said, I do on occasion drive a hybrid. The Hyundai Ioniq. It's my father-in-law's company car, and he had one of the first generation ones back in 2017 and said, I'll give it a go, but if it's shit, Aidan can have it. And he was a bit sceptical about having a hybrid. Now, he'll never go back to petrol. He'll never go back to diesel. And this is a man who about 12-13 years ago was driving a V8 Mercedes GL, and before that he had a supercharged Range Rover. And not forgetting the Jag XKR it was. One of the biggest petrol heads I know got converted to this woke hybrid stuff. And I'll admit, I really like that car. It's quite nice to drive. So, you know, Hyundai, if you're watching. Now, electric cars will work very well in built-up areas. London, Birmingham, Manhattan, you know, places where pollution is an issue. And they especially work for people like the post office or Amazon. Posty does his morning round, he whacks the thing on charge for a bit while he has his pork pie at lunch, and then he goes back out in the afternoon. In a built-up area, an electric van is going to be way better than a diesel, especially with diesel particulate filters and things like that, and people buying diesels living in big cities and then going, no, I've got to pay £4,000 for a new DPF because I've blown it. And the obvious thing to factor in about electric vehicles, they're quiet. You can hold a Formula E race in the middle of a city and not annoy anybody. It's racing in the environment where these sorts of cars are relevant. And like I've said before, once you get past the fact that it's not a V10, the racing's pretty damn entertaining. But will all motorsports go electric? I'm struggling to see a case for saying yes at the minute. Formula 1, top class endurance racing, and the BTCC will all be hybrid in some capacity by 2022. NASCAR's hybrid plans, as far as I know, are on hold because of the pandemic, and hybrid is expected in IndyCar for 2023. But will those series ever go full electric? I just can't see it. I can't see how an Indy 500 with 30-minute pit stops every 10 laps to charge the batteries is viable. The tech will advance, as it does with everything. Look how Formula 1 has helped develop hybrid road cars. There's way more hybrid road cars on the market now compared to pre-2014. The tech will advance, but how will it work over the race distances that these cars cover? 24 hours at Le Mans on an electric motor? Not happening. Short, sharp races like Rallycross can go full electric, and it is actually going full electric, but everything else, hybrid is the only way that those other series will be able to continue in their current form. Because no one is going to want to watch a driver change to a freshly charged car while the other one gets charged up. It's another car to cart around. It wastes diesel in the truck. You want to save the planet, but you've got an extra lithium battery extracted from a hole in Canada sitting there in a car taking up extra garage space. But while we're here, let's take a look at the numbers that F1 cars are producing. Now, I can only find figures for 2017. F1 cars that year were starting races with about 140-ish litres of fuel in the tank, in a race that covers about 305 kilometres. Thanks to some maths done by... I can't believe this. Obi-Wan Cannabis on Reddit, it works out to roughly 46 litres per 100 kilometres, which, for a car lobbing 1,000 horsepower out the rear axle, is sipping fuel. Now, for those of us using the old-fashioned units, it's roughly 6.1 miles per US gallon. For comparison, the V8s that were being used in 2012, so 5 years previous to 2017, were doing 3.1 miles per US gallon. In the fabled V10 era, probably fewer still. Now in 2021, the fuel consumption is probably going to be around the 7 miles per US gallon mark. So modern Formula 1 cars are basically about 2.5 miles per gallon higher than a BMW 1M or a Mitsubishi Evo 10 on a track day. And yes, climate change is a legitimate concern. Pollution is a legitimate concern. There are a few hypocrisies surrounding electric vehicles. Although no doubt there will be deniers in the comment section for the climate change and pollution and stuff. Electric racing is here to stay, whether we like it or not, but while the technology is going to get better with the research and development put in for racing series like Formula E and like Extreme-E, that'll then trickle down into the cars that we drive, as well as all the stuff that Tesla is doing. Whether that will reach the levels that governments think and want it to reach remains to be seen. But like I said, I can't see every racing series going full electric. Hybrids, maximum, with some lower series keeping traditional internal combustion engines, although they'll no doubt be turbocharged. So what do you think? Leave all relevant opinions in the description, not in the description, the comment section, which is, below this video. I mean, I don't need to tell you where it is because that's where it's always been. And while you're scrolling down, why not give the video a like, because apparently that really helps me out, and subscribe with the bell on so you get all the latest from this channel. Ramblings like this, Can F1 Handle, the podcast, all that good stuff. Massive thanks, as always, go out to the patrons of Patreon for their continued support, and if you wish to join them, or just join in the Discord stuff, and join in with the social media stuff on Twitter and Instagram and all that kind of thing, I'll leave everything in the description box for you. That will actually be in the description box. So until next time, I've been Aidan Millward. Have a great day wherever you live in the world, and I'll see you all again very soon for another video. So until then, goodbye.